I had an afternoon interview, so I got here quite early in the morning. I came about 11, just to give myself time to settle in and to know where everything was and not to be rushed.
I had quite a long day because I had quite a long journey down to Bristol, and I didn't want to be late for my interview, which did result in me sitting around for quite a few hours.
Once I signed in, I was brought on a tour of the place. I got to see all the different sort of facilities they offer here, different clinics and surgeries, and we got to see some procedures happening. It's fine when you're reading it on the computer or the internet, but it's nice to have someone you can ask questions to and get a live response from. After the tour, we had a talk with one of the senior vets here, and it was just very insightful to the course and what is to be expected over the 5 years.
Well, the important things that we're looking for in our candidates is firstly an ability to communicate not only with colleagues but also with clients and have an empathy with their patients as well. But also we need them to be able to problem solve, work through different situations and treat the animals appropriately.
When it was time for me to go to my interview, we got taken to one of the buildings and sat in the foyer and waited to be called into our respective rooms. I was quite nervous, but once we got into the foyer of the building waiting for our interviews, a group of about 6 of us, the pressure lifted slightly because we could all tell we were all quite nervous, and it just became quite funny really.
And there was 2 interviewers, an older man and a younger woman.
My family?
And it was just very relaxed, very casual. They made you feel very easy.
Welcome to Bristol Vet School, my family. Thank you for coming. I'm Professor Ed Hall and this is my colleague Dr. Severine Tasker.
Hi there.
And for the next 20 minutes we'll be asking you questions about why you want to come to vet school. At the end of that time you can ask us any questions you may have. Now I'm going to ask the obvious question, why do you want to be a vet?
Oh, well, I wanted to be a vet for a long time and I think I've done a lot of work.
The best advice I think I could give about approaching the interview would be to make sure that you're prepared and you know what you might be asked to talk about. If you've mentioned something on your personal statement, there's a good chance an interviewer might ask about that. Make
sure that you read over your personal statement a lot before you arrive, because your interviewers will have a copy on their desk and they'll be reading from it. So if they ask you a question relating to your personal statement and you don't have the answer, you start to get panicked and stressed and it just doesn't work.
I had mentioned that I did some dairy work, but I never mentioned mastitis. But it's a very common condition, and they brought that in because they knew that I would probably have witnessed something to do with mastitis and the treatment that entails.
I see you've had some experience working on a dairy farm. Could you tell me what you were doing there?
Yeah, I spent about 3 weeks working on a dairy and I was doing the morning and afternoon milking, and I was also...
I think what they're looking for is that you have an up-to-date knowledge of the course and of the veterinary world, that you're keeping an eye on new techniques, that you have an idea of what's happening disease-wise, how it's spreading, where it's spreading, just to show that you're actively interested in the course. Work experience is the key point for veterinary students. Without it, you are in trouble. And it's not just volume, it's diversity. You need a good all-round work experience. You can't go off to a stables for 2 years and come back and expect to get in. You need to see equine, you need to see small animals, large animals, cattle, everything.
I think you really need to talk about what you've taken from your experience, not just saying you've been doing things, because that just comes across as jumping through hoops.
My journey into vet school certainly wasn't the traditional route. I left school with 1 GCSE, which obviously most people would think there's no way you're getting into vet school like that. So I ended up working for sort of 7 years. Decided after that time I wanted to actually have a career. Veterinary was the one thing that I'd have loved to do. So I looked at what I needed to obtain to get into veterinary school. Went off and done an access course and my GCSEs in the evening classes, and applied to vet school and got an offer for pre-vet year.
Candidates are selected for interview not just on their academic ability, but also on what they've put in their personal statement, their work experience and what they've gained from that, and also their other interests.
I actually got a book from a bookstore. It's How to Get into Veterinary School. It was really useful because it was actually written by 2 students who had just graduated from Bristol Vet School.
So I noticed here that you've seen quite a lot of small animal practice, and you do mention that communication is an essential part of good small animal practice. Can you describe to me a situation where you've...
At no point did I feel like they were trying to catch me out with anything. Just felt like they were trying to get a better understanding of what I'd seen and what I'd done, and a bit more about me as a person.
We're looking for the best candidates, but we're not going to ask trick questions. We want candidates who can take a question, solve problems and give us a rational answer.
So Ed, what do you think about these two candidates then?
Well, I was really impressed with this one. She's a great communicator, and what really impressed me was, although she lived in London, she made the effort to find a dairy farm placement. Whereas this candidate has done a number of different placements, but really didn't seem to have learned very much from them.
I agree. The other thing with this candidate is I didn't really feel that they had a good grasp of what being a vet was all about, and also I didn't really see any passion for the veterinary profession.
They seemed to be wanting to get to know me as a person and to sort of see what my likes and dislikes were and to see if I was going to fit in, really. They made me feel really at ease and everyone was really, really friendly. I really liked the campus and I really liked the people, and I thought it was, you know, a really important thing to feel comfortable in the surroundings and at the site itself. So yeah, I really enjoyed my day here, so I kind of hoped I'd enjoy the 5 years here as well. They made me feel really comfortable and they asked me about sort of my hobbies, the extracurricular drama and theatre that I did at school and singing and choir and that kind of thing. They seemed to be just interested in what I was like as a person. They didn't really seem to want me to be a sort of mini vet in waiting, which I was quite relieved by.
Thank you for coming.
They're not looking for vets, they're looking for veterinary students, people that are keen to learn.
Yeah, I would definitely say go for it. If you really want it, then you can achieve it.
And finally, we want students who want to come to Bristol, because Bristol's got a lot to offer. In the first 3 years, the students are based in the city and have the usual student experience. And in their final 2 years, they're based in the beautiful Somerset countryside out at Langford, surrounded by dairy farming. And on site, we have good clinical facilities and we have an excellent student body and a great morale.
I chose Bristol largely because the department were one of the nicest, most friendly departments I dealt with during my application.
I got in contact with different students actually. They were directed me to students and they answered any questions I had through email and phone if I needed it, which was a nice comfort to have because you got first-hand experience from people that are actually in the course.
When I got the phone call to let me know that I'd got in, I was so excited. I was over the moon. I actually burst into tears. I was so emotional. Bristol was my first choice and I was so excited to have been let in. I really wasn't sure what to expect because I had no idea how the interview had actually gone. I think if I could give a piece of advice to any prospective candidate, it would be to be yourself and be relaxed and calm. They want to get the best out of you in your interview.
It's always been in my head to do veterinary, and going through secondary school, it sort of just focused it a bit more and got my head into gear, because you realise that while work experience is everything, grades need to be there too.
You could go down the routes of access courses, animal management. There are several different routes to get into the pre-vet year. It's definitely worth it. Don't give up.
I think it's just important that you take time before you go to just calm down and realise that if you know your stuff, you're probably going to be okay.